Bram Stoker wrote in his novel Dracula that the might of the vampire lied and that no one ever believed in his existence. Well, my existence is certainly full of surprises. It all started on a dark summer night. New York, July 2002. I meet Lukas, a friend I have not seen for ages. He invites me over to a party in Spanish Harlem. There I see dark shadows, creatures wearing fangs and white makeup, an artist performing, pouring blood on stage. I feel like I'm in a movie. The images haunted me long after I had left New York. The more I thought about it, the more I was growing obsessed with the question. On the one hand, the enormous amount of pictures of vampires produced by the Hollywood dream machine for the past century. Nosferatu, Dracula, Blade, Van Helsing, Underworld. On the other hand, this, underground, hidden, but for real. Back in Paris, France, everybody laughed at me. Vampires, for real? What are you raving about? I had no choice but to go back and bring pictures, evidence on film, provided the vampires would allow me to film them.
You got to let my boss know that I'm doing a good job.
I land in New York in the middle of Halloween. The celebration of the dead is on. A flock of skeletons swamp Fifth Avenue. Were actual vampires living in the slums of New York? How come? Since when? For what? Or was it a masquerade I witnessed? But if indeed the vampire myth was not a myth, then was it inspired by real facts? A reality hidden from us? For how long? I asked Lukas to set up a meeting with some of the vampires he first introduced me to. I get to meet them in a tattoo shop in Jamaica, Queens, an hour from Manhattan by subway. The area is run down. Kalashnikov and street names. A client displays his tattoos. They remind me of those I saw in gang members. I thank him. We exchange smiles.
Still good.
Jamaica is one of the hottest spots for crack on the outskirts of New York City. The day before, a shootout between the police and a local gang ended in a bloodbath.
It's like when I draw, I think about all this shit, all the things that I've been through. Even though now I'm doing good, I'm happy and everything's going well. But for a lot of years, it was, hard for me. So I try to let all that, anger and pain that I went through into my drawing. I had a good time. It came when things were really going bad for me. I just came out of prison and I met Miguel, and he basically showed me the way. And ever since then, I just been elevating. At that time, I was kind of weak. All kind of things going through my head. You see a lot of my drawings, I put like characters being hung or getting hit by a car, and that's how I was thinking. I was thinking suicide, and and then it just came at that time, and I started meeting like really good friends, and they started showing me things, and I just love it. It's good. Everything is good. I'm waiting for next year. I'm gonna get this shit finished. I don't know. I think I want a vampire, like with my face, the way Robert Hernandez tattoos, with like a girl in his hands. But he'll be like a giant vampire, like like King Kong and Godzilla. I have like a little female vampire like that. I'm like eating her, like if she was a fruit or something.
I get the feeling that my questions on vampires are not welcome. Anthony doesn't answer them.
Again, I'd rather just talk about tattoos and artwork, and that's it. It's still a beautiful thing, but I just decided to talk about art. That's it. That's my this art right now.
Why didn't Anthony answer me? Why don't they admit to what I saw? Why the shyness in front of the camera? My investigation is starting to look even more complex than I first imagined.
How you doing? You know, all at the same time. It's very, very, very meaningful. That whatever.
Then I meet Ice Pick, who's wearing a bulletproof vest.
This is Queens. This is because we're in Queens. Queens is a dangerous place. You know, we're in Queens. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to tell the truth in Queens. It's dangerous to tell the truth anywhere in the world. But I always tell the truth, so the truth hurts, right? So that means they're gonna hurt me because I am the truth.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna hug it up. We're gonna do one of those things. We're gonna do one of the.
One day, he doesn't fucking scat, man.
I don't have to. I don't have to scat. It's not my nature.
He pulls a huge stack of dollars from his pocket.
Everything goes wrong in life.
This is getting far out.
We're gonna be all right in life. Just in case everything goes wrong in life. Like this is plan B, Lucas. This is plan B. Just in case everything goes wrong. Everything's gonna go right. We're gonna fix it. Okay? In case if anything happens,
Where's the money coming
I'll
from?
take care of it. You just perform.
Who are these vampires?
You guys perform.
What do they live
I
on?
do what I gotta do.
I can't ask.
I feel a lot better about everything now. I'm telling you, it's life. It's life. See how it grows. It grows. It grows. It's the extension. It's the left side and the right side, the creative side and the regular side. So it's gonna grow. It's gonna grow. You see, every time y'all grab it, it grows. It grows with you guys. It's one head, and it's two heads, and it grows. It's me, you. It was me, Miguel. It's you. It's him. It grows. It's everybody.
I have mixed emotions after my first encounter with the vampires. Too many questions, not enough answers, I'm starting to worry. I decide to wait until they accept me, until I earn their trust and their respect. I feel like an anthropologist trying to blend into the group he's studying. Participant observation with vampires.
Yeah, I got the teeth because it was just an extension of how I am. It was just an extension of the predator that I am. I just see things that I want and I go after it. And it's like a warning for them. It's a warning for like the little babies. A vampire, to me, like some people with or without teeth, I exhibit the nature of a vampire. You know, I'm a hunter. There's people that have the teeth that they consider themselves vampire because they bought the teeth and they believe whatever they were told. But I'm a vampire because, just because of my nature, the teeth I represent the nature of the vampire. You know, I'm the bad guy. I'm the piece of shit. I'm the guy that says, you know what? I don't like the way you look. I don't like this. I don't like that. You know what it is about this? Yo, you're doing this wrong. Fuck you. Fuck that nigga. Fuck everybody. Fuck the world. I'll say it. I'm ready for life. It's not gonna change. Nothing is gonna fucking change. If this isn't hell and I go to another hell, then the devil gotta be ready for Ice Pick. Is it a vampire or what is it? I'm just fucking Ice Pick.
The vampires I saw have nothing in common with the old school of vampires, such as Dracula, Countess Bathory, a bunch of old degenerate upper-class Europeans. The new generation of vampires is young, tough, and was born in the ghetto. Lord Zila just agreed to meet me at his place. He's one of the founding fathers of the Hidden Shadows, apparently the largest clan of vampires in New York. Lord Zila is one of the great ones. He's highly respected by the other vampires. He's a ruler. At first, we were going to shoot a couple of nights, but the shoot went overtime. Many vampires refused to testify in front of my camera. Others just don't show up. They don't like journalists. They don't like TV, and TV doesn't like them. The great leader of the New York Vampires lives in a Spanish Harlem project, which has been turned into a fortress. Guards are watching the entrance, big steel doors, high security.
You leaving?
Well, I've been pretty much always interested in the paranormal, you know, events and kind of practice, and always into more the dark side of life. Ever since I was young, I was always kind of known as the odd kid. No, we're kind of private about our ways and stuff like that, you know. So we're not goth, but vampires. We take, you know, we kind of incorporate vampire ways into our lifestyle. What we do is we're very selective on who we sire into the family, who we choose to be within the family, because when it comes to the men, we like knights, we like soldiers, you know, and gentlemen. And when it comes to the ladies, they're more like the princesses, the little girls of the family. So the men are more overprotective over the girls within the shadows. You know, I can't say that everyone that calls themselves a vampire consumes blood, because that's just not the way it is. Everyone has their own ways. Whether I choose to or don't, that's more intimate. That's something that, you know, if you want to know, you got to find out.
During our first interview, Miguel and Anthony were cold with me. Today, my hard work is paying off. They've invited me to their place. They're taking me to a party thrown by the Klan.
See, I'm not insane. I just look that way.
This one? The hoodie?
I feel Miguel is ready to talk. Will I manage to make him talk? What does being a vampire mean to him?
I learned tattooing in jail. I got my first tattoo and I didn't like it. Figured I could do better. So I learned how to do it. And I spent like 2 years working on myself. This system is not about us. Not us. 10,000 other people, but not us. And that's what it's about to me, to make a difference. To say that, you know, in the middle of all the bullshit, hypocrisy, and bullshit you go through, we can do something extraordinary. Being a vampire is being true, is being honest. I show people the predator that I am straight off the top. So anything that comes afterwards is their own fault, because I've already shown them, you know, what to worry about.
What does Miguel's warning mean? Who is he warning? Me? If vampires are predators, who do they prey on? Consenting humans?
No pictures for girls. Oh, it's in the house. That's it, you ain't getting no more. He know the feeling. He's like, yeah, I know that feeling.
The Realm of Darkness is a monthly gathering organized by the Hidden Shadows. Hundreds of vampires coming from Harlem, the Bronx, and the Queens meet secretly underground. The Hidden Shadows are not the only clan. Many more clans of vampires haunt the Knights of the Big Apple. I can tell 10 different clans just from the signs they wear. On stage, a trio simulates an orgy. A girl flirts with the camera like an exotic dancer. Why did I never hear anything about this? The secret is well kept. All that's missing is a blood shower, and this could be the opening scene of the Blade movie. This seems like an endless night. Back in Europe, I deliver a 9-minute newsreel, but I feel frustrated. I know the vampires are hiding secrets from me. I know I merely touched the surface. Jean-Paul Boulle is one of the few specialists of the vampire cults in the world. Maybe he can give me some clues on the roots and the philosophy of the vampire movement.
Vampirism is to keep your own identity in death. In all religions, our identity dissolves itself when we die. Christianity has the glorious body, which is a little more identifiable in the physical form. But yes, it is the search for immortality, how not to die anymore. The message is, we are gods. Let us retrieve the lost powers of the ancients. You cannot create such an occult movement without magical assistance or magical support. From there, you need to have pacts and strong rituals. You could say that you need godfathers in the other world, like the great ancients. In the case of vampirism, the great ancients are not many. One can seek them. First of all, Dracula. Not like the usual bottom-of-the-range blood-drinking vampire. Such creatures do exist, but they're more like zombies. I don't mean that in a pejorative way. There are entities like that, but vampirism for me was already on a higher level. The truth is, there were some occult circles like the Golden Dawn at the end of the 19th century. Their practices were not exactly vampiric, but seemed similar with the use of blood, trances, etc. I believe that they are the ancient ones, the ancestors.
By chance, or is it really chance? Lukas calls me from New York. Father Sebastian is attending a vampire party in Amsterdam. Sebastian is another founding father of the vampire scene. He persistently refused to meet me when I was in New York. I decided to try my luck. Surprise, he'll take my meeting this time.
My name is, I go by Father Sebastian. I'm the founder of Clan Sabretooth and the Order of Strigavai. And we have people from all over Europe and from America here for this evening. And it's a celebration of our traditions and our philosophies and our teachings. The philosophy that we follow is called Strigavai, which means living vampire in Romanian. It's a older tradition that we've more or less resurrected and taken that name besides the word vampire, which has been overplayed and dramatized and exposed by the media to be something quite ridiculous. We are Left Hand Path, which is an emerging culture. We're entering now the fifth aeon of man. which is Anton LaVey described as this age of Satan. Within the left-hand path, people stand out as individuals because the majority of the left-hand path traditions do not believe that there is such thing as a God. There is no God except yourself. We are a projection of our higher self.
Things have never been so good. Why the sudden change of attitude? Strange. Is he trying to manipulate me? For what? So that I give a better image of the vampires in the media? I thought they didn't want to communicate. What's he doing in Europe anyway? There are many women among the vampires. I asked Lyle Lumberlax, a disciple of Father Sebastian, what it's like to be a modern-day Camilla.
As far as the balance between the sexes of vampire scene is one of the most equal that I've seen anywhere. There's as many women as there are men in the vampire scene, if not more. And we're given the same amount of respect and the same amount of responsibility and the same amount of power as any of the males are. I think the darkness is beautiful. It doesn't mean that I reject the light, but I think that it's very common in our society because of all the fear that has been instilled into us through the media, through the government, through just social norms, that we've been taught to reject darkness because it's frightening and it's going to hurt us. And I've never felt that. I've always felt that the darkness is something that's comforting, that's something that's there, and it can be a source of power as much as the light can. The central point of the entire vampire philosophy is to live in the twilight, which is to be balanced, not to be completely, a freak that runs around at night and can't hold a job and ends up homeless on the street because we're irresponsible, but at the same time not reject the entire dark side of things because it's called evil or called dangerous, or it just scares people.
I'm told that Father Sebastian is controlling a network of thousands of vampires.
And we've tried to find many ways of doing it. Some groups hunt people and go out and suck their energy. Our community is evolving to a point where these expressions are coming out in esoteric formats. You look in the last 10, 15 years, witches have become commonplace. You see Satanism everywhere with rock and roll and science. You see vampirism becoming a very popular phenomenon. You look at the people searching for angels and astrology and everything. It's just tarot cards. All of that workings are accepted as every part of our culture. And there is a movement, and that is the fifth aeon. It's humanity be preparing for that. Vampirism is one of the many traditions that's exploring different aspects of how to bring human consciousness to that next level. When the magical renaissance happened at the end of the 19th century with the Order of the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley, you've seen over the last century it becoming almost mainstream and accepted. And people are becoming more magically aware. Magic is that evolution. Black magic and the left-hand path are the next step of human evolution because it's based on the individual versus the community.
Could actual rituals and secret societies of the past have given birth to the myth of the living dead vampire? Could there be real deeds behind the legends? After all, Bram Stoker derived the fictional character of Count Dracula from the real-life character of Vlad Tepes, a bloody Romanian warlord. Since Amsterdam, Father Sebastian shows a form of sympathy towards the film and myself. Bizarre. He invites me over to New York for the Dragon Festival, the largest gathering of vampires in North America. I decide to pay a visit to a well-known vampire hangout. This huge store where fangs and vampire contact lenses are manufactured for the children of the night.
We do is we help you bring out what you feel your inner nature is. We have different varieties of vampire teeth, from going from what we call raptor sets with a full mouth to classics from the original vampire movies, which was just singles. People come in and whatever vampire teeth they feel they are, what kind of vampire, we provide you the eyes, we provide you the teeth, and some places we even give you makeup tips on how you want to look. Some people prefer natural, some people like the pale look. Some people like the modern blade look running around here. It all depends on what kind of vampire you find. Once you know what your nature is, we help you bring that out, accent it. And that way people go, wow, there you are, and you're happy with yourself because you found what you are. It's the whole thing about we are top of the food chain is true. Because simply the fact that a predator will do what a predator does. There's no mistake about it. You don't expect anything else. Predators, you'll see, they roam from way over here to way over there. They see something they want, okay, what's over there? They go.
For me, the fangs, I do wear them on a daily basis. To me, they represent something more, they represent like the carnal, the beast from within me, something that people may see me with this innocent face and, oh, look at the cute little girl, but as soon as I open my mouth and I start talking to them and they see what's really in there, you kind of have to think twice about it. So I feel it's a good representation of the darker, the inner beast, you know, the carnal that everybody has inside.
Real vampires are no longer a mystery to me, but a number of questions remain unanswered. The person to ask is Father Sebastian, and once again he proves useful. He introduces me to Victor Magnus, a former magician turned vampire.
People in New York City are used to seeing everything. They don't discount anything. And it's also the city really of night. I mean, it's nighttime right now. Look how bright it is. I mean, this is a place. If you're truly a night person, a nocturnal creature, this is a place to flourish. You can be out all night. It's a 24-hour city. So this is a place for those of us who are truly nocturnal to be ourselves. No one knows exactly how many people are involved in the scene here, but we're talking about over 40 diverse households within, say, 50, 60 miles of the Empire State Building. Well, Susan Walsh, and this appearance of Susan Walsh, caused the spotlight to be shown on the community. It had been growing at that time for just a few years, and it was just coming into its own. And Susan Walsh, who was doing an investigative piece on vampires, suddenly disappeared. And we had to deal with the press coming down, finding out what happened. And there were lurid headlines, of course, about her disappearing within the vampire subculture. And, well, it sort of brought some light on us, which was not welcome at the time.
And what do you think happened to Susan Walsh?
I can't say. I don't. I'm sorry. What happened to Susan Walsh? I can't say.
Do you think Susan Walsh is still alive?
Again, I can't say. I can't say whether she's alive or not.
Rex Black, a veteran of the vampire movement who loves the camera, takes me on a surreal ride.
When I was a Boy Scout, 14 years old, I was given my own patrol. Patrol is like a group of boys, maybe 5 or 6, and you could choose any animal that you would like to be the type of your name of your patrol. Well, because I realized that I was vampiric, I was probably the leader of the first vampire patrol in the Boy Scouts of America's history. We had bats on our shoulders. And I would draw our weekly report. I would draw a vampire. And guess what? I ended up growing up to look like the picture that I drew. I believe that there is a very fine line between pleasure and pain. And I believe that if you have the ability, you can heighten the ability of flesh and pleasure with pain. I believe that if you are good at it and fine-tuned at it, you can make sex so much more enjoyable by adding tinges of pain to it, to push the envelope higher and higher and higher. I believe that vampires are well known to not only bite their victims, but also give their victims ecstasy and orgasms while they're biting. I personally have experienced this many, many times with many women. And they have spoken to me and told me that they have never experienced such ecstasy as they did when I bit them and gave them love and lust and sex and pleasure and pain simultaneously.
Rex Black pulls over outside the Limelight nightclub, which is now called the Avalon. This is where the party is taking place.
Baby, come, yeah. Give me a big smile, nice thing. Don't bite, okay?
The former cathedral in the heart of Manhattan was turned into a nightclub in the 80s. It closed down after its director, Michael Alec, was arrested. He had murdered a drug dealer and thrown the body parts in the Hudson River. The club just reopened. Latex blood and sadomasochism. Vampirism and sex have always gone well together. Dracula taking a young virgin, plunging his fangs into her white flesh is a classic. Vampirella dominating her victims is another, but both are fictitious. Or are they really? What do vampires in the club do for real? What are their forbidden pleasures? What do they climax on behind closed doors? How does one become a vampire?
There are many traditions of organizations and individuals and groups and movements within the vampire subculture worldwide. I would say that I've counted over several hundred of them, but there are certain ones that come forward with the strongest presence because they've had either successful leaders or the content of their philosophies have truly resonated with something that is deeper. The Strigoi use the spelling vampire with a Y, while I've noticed that in the majority of the psychic vampires, Hollywood, even role players, embrace it and spell it with the I. It was simply a subtle form of communication.
The Endless Night, a highlight of the North American Vampire Year, was about to start in New Orleans. I wasn't going to miss it. New Orleans, the city of Anne Rice, who turned literature around with her bestseller Interview with a Vampire, which eventually became a Hollywood blockbuster with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. I am meeting Maeve Allure, a former star of the New York vampire scene, who has a reputation of being the best fang maker in America. He accepted to meet me at Father Sebastian's request. He lets me film him, putting fangs onto a young vampire girl.
Last 6 months of New York, I was actually homeless. And I started making fangs just for my friends, but when I was homeless again, I started selling them to be able to eat every day. And I was couch surfing, I was sleeping in subways, and I was doing anything I could to survive. then I heard that that Sabretooth was throwing the Endless Night event in New Orleans, and I thought that was my ticket to getting off the streets, was to make enough money doing the convention that I wouldn't have to starve anymore, or I wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Me and a whole bunch of my friends got in an SUV and took a 24-hour ride straight from New York down to New Orleans. And when I got down here, the scene was very, very different. In New York, it all takes place in the clubs, on certain nights. In New Orleans, the scene was everywhere. It was on the streets, it was in the clubs, it was in the bars, it was in people's homes, it was in everyday life. And I thought that was quite amazing. It was like everybody was living this fantasy 24/7.
The French Quarter is famous for its debauchery and lust. Chaos reigns in the city, booze and sex everywhere. Some TV evangelists deemed Hurricane Katrina a fair punishment for such a depraved city. Vampires are at home in New Orleans. They walk in the open. They come from all over the USA. New faces, new testimonies, new chances to discover the real nature of vampires.
I had nothing to do with the Gothic scene or any of the vampiric scene whatsoever. I mean, other than the fact I've been a vampire my whole life for Halloween, I read all the books. Everyone's read all the books, right? Anne Rice, things like that, Dracula. Other than that, I didn't have much to do with it. Crashed and died in a motorcycle accident. I was brain injured, and when I say crashed and died, I was actually legally dead, clinically dead. That means no heartbeat, no breathing, several times. And I spent 11 days in a coma, 6.5 months in a brain injury ward, where I was regaining my faculties. Eventually one day everything just came back, one of those miraculous things where your brain just comes back and all of a sudden you remember that you know how to work on a computer, when before that you couldn't even spell your own name. So that all happened, and when they let me out of the hospital, and like I said, I spent time underground, I started investigating. I mean, it became apparent to me, and you crash, and you die, and you're resurrected with other people's blood. There's more to life. Maybe do a little bit of investigation, see what's going on here. And that's when I started leading towards the supernatural, vampiric side of things. So when it didn't become a major influence on my life initially. It wasn't until the fan club opened and I saw that I could actually make something better.
To be quite honest, I'm out of Atlanta, Georgia. The vampire scene is very, very thin. The Gothic scene is steady, but the problem is that the Gothic scene is dying. Atlanta, Georgia is a major part of the Bible Belt. Unfortunately, we cannot walk down the street without catching ridicule, sometimes violence. We deal with a lot of issues inside of Atlanta. It may be an international city, but as far as the vampiric community, we suffer greatly.
Vampires rent out a suite in a major downtown hotel to host their ceremony. Father Sebastian is the master of the ritual. I can see a novice girl being prepared. What for?
Start laughing for 30 seconds. Are we ready? Cynical laughs are good too.
The party goes on for 5 nights, a truly endless night. I meet Gabrielle St. Eve. I had seen her in Amsterdam. A very unusual person among vampires.
Art for me is an incredibly sexual experience when you're exchanging energy with an audience. It's like you're making love with this huge crowd and then they're focusing all that energy on you and then you bring it back. And that's something that goes back and forth. It's very sexual, very intense, and if you will, vampiric. There's also something very nostalgic and very primal about the vampire culture, and doesn't have the bright, shiny, fluorescent energy that the 20th century has brought about. And there's that great mix in Dracula where you have somebody who's refined and also very primal. And that's something that I think a lot of us want. We love dressing up and we love wearing gloves and being proper in a lot of ways, but also accepting the fact that we can be very animalistic.
Bestial, le mot est lâché. Les vampires ont l'image de créatures raffinées, mais quelque chose me dit qu'ils ne sont pas les seuls. D'autres créatures hantent les nuits de nos villes. Dire Wolf m'en apporte la preuve.
You're not a vampire, you're a lichen. Don't call me a lichen unless you know where the term lichen came from. People always make that mistake. Everybody sees underworld and all of this, like, and all of a sudden everybody refers to werewolves as lichens. And I ask them, okay, smart ass, where did lichen come from? And they're like, I was like, that's what I thought. Lichen, coming from the word lycanthrope. It's like, and going even further than that, if you've done Greek history, it's like if you've done Greek mythology at all, you know the story of King Lycan, who offered human flesh to Zeus, the king of the gods, to eat, and being so offended, he transformed the good king into a wolf. There it is. So if you're going to call me anything, call me a wolf. Do not call me a lichen. Yeah, baby, Harlem World.
J'avais rencontré Lord Zilla, mais il me restait encore à interviewer Lord Xanatos, l'autre fondateur des Hidden Shadows. Xanatos enseigne les arts martiaux avec son père dans un dojo de Harlem qui sert de quartier général au clan. Des vampires qui pratiquent les arts martiaux, comme Blade, le super-héros incarné par Wesley Snipes. Est-ce les Hidden Shadows qui imitent la fiction, ou est-ce la fiction qui imite la réalité? Dans le monde des vampires, la frontière entre la réalité et la fiction est parfois très fragile.
Ever since I was younger, I always wanted the fangs, the talons, and things of that nature. And I happened to find it here, in Gotham. The fangs represent many different things to different people. Okay, to me, the fangs represent our beastly side. I wear my fangs to show that I am in control of my beastly side, and I'm not afraid to put it out for the world to see. So it shows the power and the image that we do hold, that we can be who we want to be no matter what time of day or night it is.
Self-defense doesn't have to be fast, fancy, or none of that. Make sure you do your techniques properly, and that you and the person that you're working with, you're at that point in time, can trust each other, nobody gets hurt. Have to, right? Bang, again, punch, come on, come on. Whoa.
Not a problem. I had the concept of bringing all the vampires that wasn't being acknowledged. So I brought everyone together and one and say, listen, why don't we do something together? Make us stronger in numbers. That way they'll be forced to listen to us. So we had a meeting, and everyone decided, you know what, this is time. It's time for this. So there's 4 elders of Hidden Shadows, and we decided it's time for us to come together and make one force.
Ladies and gentlemen.
My friend Lukas manages to get me inside a very special venue, a secret meeting of the leaders of the vampire clans of New York. For initiates only, I'm now accepted. But Lord Zila requests that I should introduce myself to each of the leaders. The meeting takes place at the Hidden Shadows headquarters. It is a unique opportunity for me to film clan leaders from all over town discussing their objectives and strategies.
Family, but they gotta scatter around because this is a mingling thing. So you want to should take care of elders, then count elders and ranks, take care of them as elders.
Each clan has its own turf. The Hidden Shadows in Harlem, the House Pantheon in the Bronx, the House of Jazz in South Manhattan, all are coming tonight.
So we each wear an ankh, which you see here on my chest, okay? Which unifies us together as one. That shows that, yes, we are one entity with different mindsets, but we each strive for the same thing.
Each clan of vampires has its own rituals inspired by ancient societies from Europe. Each new member is first scrutinized carefully. He's put to a series of tests and challenges. If he succeeds, he's allowed to wear the symbols of his new family.
Ladies and gentlemen, announcing from Sabertooth Omega, Lord Father Vincent.
I take the opportunity to grab Father Vincent, who had turned down all my requests for interviews. I waited for him in vain for hours in the middle of Fifth Avenue in the freezing wind. But tonight, I was lucky.
My major role in the scene right now, other than being one of the founding fathers, is being the master fangsmith. There are many different ways, there are many different definitions of what a vampire is. I mean, you know, the vampires who are just strictly for the fashion of it. There are vampires there for the spirituality of it, the lust of it. It's such a diverse, group. There are the blood drinkers, there are the energy vampires. They're all over. There's many different types.
Sanguine vampires feeding on human blood. Psychic vampires feeding on human vital energies. Nonsense? Acupuncture is based upon the manipulation of such energies. It's a well-accepted form of medicine. Could it be that human beings feed from energies taken from their fellow beings? The idea seems more chilling than the idea of human blood consumption.
I've heard people refer to being a vampire being a different species. I wouldn't say it's a different species. I would say more so maybe an evolution of there's maybe that just like there's something so-called mutants, who are normal people who are just slightly different, slightly gifted, who are not, they are partly that, but there's something more now. I would think that might be a better way to explain that. And I don't think it's another species. I think it's just a matter of a variation.
A major ritual is held on a roof in Manhattan. They're supposed to communicate with the great ancients, the vampire spirits. Michelle Bélanger wrote the Psychic Vampire Codex. She is one of the few official spokespersons of the vampire community. She's going to lead the ritual alongside Father Sebastian. She's very articulate and used to the media. If anybody, she's the one who can phrase clearly the real nature of the vampire.
What we are going to be doing...
Don Henry is attending too. He's a vampire from California who caught the public eye when he drank a glass of blood during a reality show.
Heal her up. Now follow. After us. We'll say it first as sort of a practice and at the same time as a role for you to follow. The second time around will be us joining together. On the third time, which will be the charmer. Hail, hail the rock!
Elarath is the designation developed by the Ordo Strigoi V to represent their collective will and belief and energy. Elarath is what in the magical community would be known as an egregore. It is an entity created by the collective belief and energy generated through ritual by a specific group. Essentially a personification of the group mind.
Now with that, and with the words that we have said tonight, and all the silent words that you have kept within your minds, even if you were not vocal physically, you were mentally.
All of those people who have perceptions and sensations of the subtle aspect of reality and have an inborn capacity for energy and magic are the individuals who I term awakened. And to me, really, they've spiritually evolved.
By the ancients, this temple is now expended.
As I said, the vampirism is inborn, and you are aware of energy and the energy in your environment because you don't have a choice. We're a little bit more awakened than the rest of humanity.
This weekend comes to pass, and now it's time you go. And when all evil eats itself, I'm happier, to take 2 months.
I think that it takes us a true vampire and somebody strong inside to say, yes, I am a vampire. I think it's odd that society views vampires as predators as being a bad or negative thing when the lion is seen as such a majestic animal who knows exactly how to capture its prey. And to me, that is what a vampire is. We are a part of nature. There will always be the war between prey and predator, the survival of the fittest. And I see the vampire as more of the shadow aspect, like what Dr. Carl Jung talked about, the shadow self and getting deep into the roots of our darkness, our inner demons, and overcoming them and accepting them to be whole beings. And that is one thing that I feel that the vampire has an advantage over most mundane people. And that we do have this nature, we can accept it and grow from it.
Radio was blasting in her busy head again, inviting all the voices, getting louder, swear to be her friends, and though they bickered, bitched, and scratched behind their mama's thorny back, she nurtured each and every one of them, because they made her laugh into the big blue sky, searching madness for freedom, ringing bells, seducing our forgiving nature never ends. I'm here and now. You're over and out. I am every waking moment, and there's no stopping me now.
Unwind from the lead in my spine. I'm done with your harness and rein. With you, your flame and demand. For good, for me, forever.
But either way, the way that we're going to have it, we're going to continue with the festivities. We just want to make sure we don't keep it towards sort of a monotonic humdrum tone of just the party by itself. So you can enjoy the rest of the party again from a little bit of a break from dancing. You might be trying to hit on that one, but you might be wasted because you might have to keep on dancing just to impress her. Yeah. So, here's your break. Drink your water, things like that. But at the same time, with it, how about I guess you say a whole, you heard the Elarath, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody say it really quick. Okay, ready? We're gonna start, and then after that, we're gonna go with you at the same time. And
then we'll all go to the bar. Last call.
Lately, on the verge of the vampire movement, many dark movements have blossomed, like the black metal movement, linked to a series of murders and church arsons in Norway. More and more people seem to be attracted by the dark side of the Force. Back in Paris, I meet with Nicholas. I heard about him before. Nicknamed the Vampire of Paris, he committed a bizarre murder at the beginning of the 90s. He's the one who can enlighten me on the topic of blood consumption, and he has nothing to hide.
I was arrested on November 11th, 1994 by their Criminal Investigation Brigade. After a 1-month investigation into a murder I committed. In fact, during this time I sought the easiest way of meeting people who would let me into their homes without question. With the French internet service, this was very easy. At the time, it sufficed just to make contact for 5 minutes. I said, come to my place, I'll give you the entry code for the door. So I arrived with a gun, and as soon as he opened the door, boom, boom. So that's how I killed that guy. At the same time, I was working in a morgue with bodies that had just been autopsied. I would take pieces home and cook them. I was also into blood fetishism. I was working in a surgical department, and sometimes we needed blood for transfusions. I would keep the stuff that wasn't used. They had a labeling system, so I figured out a way that would make them think it had been used. I would then take it home and drink it. And there are older acts of desecration of tombs and mutilization of corpses in the cemeteries. I was doing that kind of thing when I was a teenager. I believe that this energy that I had in me, and that I did not manage to express differently than by violence, I succeeded in channeling it through my art. Particularly through the subjects which I tackle. As they deal with the unconscious and controversial emotions, but present in each one of us. Either hate or passion. Talking about the manipulation of energies, I think that what I do through painting is a magical act, a ritual act. Every culture has taboos when it comes to blood, spilling blood. That's why it's so much ritualized. In certain cultures, the animal's blood mustn't be poured on the ground. Blood has an extremely powerful energy charge. To me, it is the most powerful charge. The blood is in the soul. As Bram Stoker wrote in his novel Dracula, the blood is the life. On a magical and ritualistic level, you cannot do anything more powerful than drinking the essence of life.
In Paris, I introduced Father Sebastian to Nicholas. I can't wait for their meeting. Hard to say what their reaction will be. What happens when two predators meet?
When you would be drinking blood,
yeah.
Okay. Do you feel that's a vampiric act unto itself, or do you think that it was just a relation? Is there a difference for you between blood fetishism and vampirism?
There is one, obviously.
And what would be that difference in your opinion?
The spiritual aspect.
Okay.
Yeah. What I have is a blood fetish. I am sexually attracted to blood. Mm-hmm. I love it. It gives me a rush.
All right. So do you consider yourself a vampire?
No. Technically, no. I am assimilated to a vampire by the media.
Okay.
And culturally speaking, people like me who drink blood are considered as vampires, but It depends on the definition you have, and I don't define myself as a vampire at all. I'm a blood fetishist.
You know, vampires have to consume life force.
Yeah.
It's a bottom line, and it's a reality and a fact of our nature. Just like normal humans have to eat.
Yeah.
But we find that our donors give it to us willingly, their energy, and that we don't abuse it, and we only take a little bit to satisfy our hunger. So there's predators still existing here, and the predatory nature of man needs to be expressed.
It needs to be expressed, and it is expressed by the might, the new mythology that are serial killers today. People see them as supernatural creatures.
Because it's not real.
It's not real, and there's no predators anymore. Man is on top of the food chain, basically. Sometimes I see humanity as a parasite. Killing somebody takes a long time.
Takes a long time?
Yes, it does take a long time. It does take more than like shooting somebody in the head and then he falls and then it's over.
Yeah, because in the movies you see him shot him and they're dead.
Yeah, people die a slow death. People do die really slowly. I do believe that I have a weight to carry all my life and maybe in the afterlife. The concept.
In an afterlife?
I do believe in the afterlife, yes. I do believe in damnation, and I do believe that maybe what I'm doing in this life will have consequences on what will happen to me after. I do believe in that, yeah.
Owing to Nicholas, I'm starting to understand. The bloody rituals of Gilles de Rais and Countess Bathory have stood the test of time. But at all times, in all countries, very discreet, hidden and secret groups have participated in rituals involving human blood and black magic. Real vampires did exist in Europe for centuries. Where else could I look for their tracks than in Venice, Italy? Marcus Drake, a specialist of black magic, takes me for a tour. Completely empty at night. Venice seems to hang between life and death, far away from the gondolas of the postcards.
Venice is a labyrinth. Everything has a double, and here in Venice, one is always confronted with one double reflected by the water. It is the world of the double. Water reflects the world in the lagoon, as if it were a city turned over at the bottom of the water. Venice has a very powerful egregore. Many people have lost themselves in Venice because inside a labyrinth one loses oneself. During the initiatory quest, you can die without finding the center. The real goal of this blood magic is above all to awake our true nature, which is in essence Luciferian and vampiric. It is an act of transgression, as our nature shouldn't be revealed. There are three kinds of sacrifice. The sacrifice of oneself, when one offers his own blood to the entities. Then there's the animal sacrifice, when one offers an animal whose symbolic system is connected to Lucifer. And even more violent, the human sacrifice.
Then the most unexpected happens. A group of vampires agrees to let me film a blood ritual. This is what I was looking for from the beginning for over 3 years. Vampirism today is not just a morbid trend. Beyond goth, some vampires do drink blood, for real, nowadays like in the old days. The scene which follows is extremely intense, and I must warn sensitive viewers. Vampires are everywhere in the global world, from Europe to Latin America and Asia. Proof of the spreading of the vampire craze, Japan, the land of the rising sun, is the land of the extremes. According to one of the most extreme branches of the vampire movement, we are approaching the final harvest. The moment when the ancient gods shall come back on earth in order to feed from the energy liberated by billions of human bodies scattered on the streets of our cities. Michel Boulanger and Father Sebastian wish to stay away from these extreme visions. They picture themselves as moderate. Without giving in to the vampire Magadon prophecy, it is a fact that vampirism is growing without frontiers. The vampire tradition seems livelier than ever, which I personally find completely amazing. What could this movement become if it was taken over by ill-intentioned leaders? We are waited in a bar, where the owner does strange things to his female clients. No one wants to tell us more. Lord Taiki owns territory, an eerie bazaar where Satanism meets pentagrams, goat heads and demonology. A truly scary place, a truly scary man.
I opened this shop in '96. At the time, there were not many like this shop in Japan. Occultism and Satanism are not very popular around here. People were wondering what was happening inside here. I love the occult. This secret world that people like me want to investigate. This is why I wanted to show it to the world. We have the right to exist. I also opened this shop to meet more people like me, more adepts. I think there are people like us everywhere in Japan. The shop works like a magnet to attract more members of my own species. Since I opened the shop, there were many occasions to travel abroad, especially in the US and in New York City.
Lord Taiki throws the Black Veils parties in Tokyo and Osaka, a tribute to the New York vampire clans, where Japanese vampires can meet, exchange views, among other things. During these parties, Taiki performs huge black magic rituals for hundreds of devoted fans. Proof the dark cultures of the underground can bloom in any culture, anywhere on the planet.
Every time I went to New York, I met people like-minded. Among them, I met Father Sebastian in his shop. He was making fans and contact lenses for the vampires. I am not fluent in English, but because of my fangs, we made a very good connection. He offered me an ink. The USA and Japan are quite distant. But we still find ways to work well together.
During the 21st century, the vampire subculture is growing bigger and stronger than ever. The most bizarre rumors will keep spreading from the underworld. New tribes, new clans are forming. Somewhere beyond our sight, new species are getting ready for fame. I'm afraid humanism is not the next trend. Groups and individuals are trying at all costs to escape reality. A reality they cannot bear any longer. Don't ask me why. We all know the answer. As if our contemporaries needed to invoke the devil in order to ward off reality. Somewhere down there in the darkness of the underground, the frontier between fiction and reality has become very, very thin.
One of the reasons that I've been very aggressively this year, particularly doing a lot of outreach, is people became aware of our subculture. In 1996, there were a couple of incidents. One involved the reporter Susan Walsh. She had been doing an expose on a vampire subculture here in New York, and she disappeared. It was presumed that she had been murdered. That was all over the press, and people started turning their eye toward our culture. In the same year, a vampire enthusiast, Rodney Farrell, committed murder. And that became associated with his involvement with vampires and vampirism. A lot of talk shows seized upon this. I mean, they seized upon the sensationalism, and they gave a very skewed vision of what we were really about. I mean, they were outsiders looking in on something that, you know, they call themselves vampires. You know, to the outside culture, vampire must mean predator, it's evil, it's dark. What we realized is if we're going to survive as a culture, we need to take that exposure on our own terms. We need to take an active role in communicating to people, into dispelling the prejudice, to dispelling the misinformation that has been very prevalent for the past 5, 6, 7 years. So we have someone like Don Henry on Sci-Fi's Mad Mad House, who goes on there and says, you know, I am a vampire, this is what I am, this is what I do. I do not do things exactly like everyone else in my community, but understand that there is a community there, and it's a large community. The vampire is the outsider, the outcast, the person who walks on the edges of things. In a lot of respects, a lot of people who are in the vampire subculture, what they are makes them strangers to a lot of ordinary things in the world. They don't relate very well because they do embrace the dark side in a world that is full of blinding white light. That archetype, I mean, by definition, is something that is just alive in the collective unconscious of humanity, and it expresses itself over and over again in myth and in folklore. You see deities in various mythological systems that express that outsider status, that darkness, but also the empowerment from the darkness, and frequently also transformation. Kali in the Hindu system, she's a goddess of death, but also of sex and lust. And she is a goddess who drinks blood. A lot of the vampires will identify with her as a vampire goddess. Set of the Egyptian pantheon is another, he's the god of foreigners, the god of the outlands, the red desert. So he's a liminal deity, but he is also someone who's empowered by his darkness, and he's an early creator god. The reason you have the dark element is a lot of the magical traditions, because they didn't want to be associated with Satanism or anything really dark or dark evil, they tended to err on the side of being very, very, very white, light, very fluffy, denying anything dark at all. One of the things that you will encounter in the vampire subculture, and in my household particularly, is approaching a person as a whole. You have to accept every aspect of yourself. You can't hide from it. The dark side is expressed because it's there. Everybody has a dark side. Psychologist Carl Jung called it the shadow. If you repress that, it comes out in ways that you can't control. So we will wear it on the outside, we will actively embrace it and work with it so that it doesn't come out in a way we can't control, so it doesn't come out in a destructive way. That the shadow is a very strong, powerful energy just on a psychological level, and if you are able to harness that positively, the amount of power from the balance of both your light and dark side. Now, because people tend to err on the side of denying that, people who embrace it and accept it will seem really exceptionally dark. And in some respects, we are overcompensating for the people who have, and for a culture who has denied the existence of that or tried to deny the utility of it, the power of it. So we explore that power. We are not afraid to look in the eyes of the darkness because we know that's us looking back at us. Within the greater vampire subculture, you're going to see elements of ceremonial magic. You see elements of Aleister Crowley's Thelema system, a lot of different Western traditions. Each house has a different flavor. They have different things that appeal to them. An underlying theme, frequently the ancient Egyptian culture seems to just have a current that just runs through collectively the whole vampire subculture. A lot of people will ask, well, were there vampires in ancient Egypt? But it's less the vampires and more the ancient Egyptian fascination with death, and death as a transformative process. because again you have something that crosses over and becomes a being of both worlds at once. The idea behind the mummies, behind the whole process of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, was through the process of dying, becoming something more than what you were in life, but also being able to return and reclaim that life. I personally do not practice blood drinking. Blood drinking sometimes has a stigma within the community, for very obvious reasons. In the wake of the AIDS pandemic, with scares like hepatitis C, there are very real dangers with blood drinking. Additionally, a lot of people, because it's a very marginalized practice, they're not educated in how to do it safely. So you will have people who have an impulse to do this, and they'll reuse razors. They don't know how to make a cut on someone. They could endanger themselves. They could endanger their partner. So you have the community is frequently split between the Psi or Sang debate. Psi being the psychic vampires, the energy vampires, or Sang being the vampires who drink blood. And sometimes there's some very significant antagonism between those two, where one does not approve of the way the other one expresses their vampirism. My take on blood drinking is the blood serves as a focus. In ritual, you use things to focus. The incense, the whole dressing up for the ritual is a focus to get you into a mindset, to raise your consciousness so you can better focus on what you're doing that is more than physical. The blood is a physical expression of the life force, and for people who are blood drinkers, what it really serves as is it is a potent physical symbol that helps them focus on the energy that they're taking, on that communion of life force. And that's what it is for Don Henry. Don Henry is both Psi and Sang. So while he drinks blood, the blood is a communion, and the blood is a symbol, a very potent symbol for him that expresses that exchange of life energy. Our house is unique within the vampire subculture. Mainly, we were one of the first groups that integrated a spiritual side. We're really known as the monks. We're almost like the Tibetan lamas of the vampire subculture. We practice our energy tradition and we teach what we do because we believe ourselves to be spiritual immortals. This is where the parallel with the Tibetan Buddhism comes in. As people know, the Dalai Lama is someone who incarnates again and again in order to bring his wisdom and his teachings back. And the other lamas within the Tibetan system carry that wisdom forth over successive lives, and they remember who they were and what they've been. They just come back and take up the same role. It's the same thing within my household, only we're, at this point, a Western version of it. Our collective, our myth, our Keprian myth, is a very long time ago we were members of a temple, and we worked together, and the ties that we formed in working in our various capacities and with that temple connect us still. And our work within that temple is what enables us to remember who and what we have been and carry that knowledge and that wisdom. Part of the motivation for that is the metaphysical teachings that we understand, the energy work particularly, is something that it's part of reality, but the teachings on it are frequently lost. Books can be destroyed, tablets can crumble to dust, but if you carry something on the soul, it won't be destroyed. Souls are truly immortal. So in any place and in any age, if we are there and we awaken to ourselves, we can help teach that information to bring it back. And that's our gift in the vampire subculture. That's what we bring to it, is we teach them about how they relate to energy, what makes them vampires, and how to harness that in a method that will be more positive, that does not have to be destructive or necessarily hurt people, prey upon them. Allows them to empower themselves, transform themselves with what they are and the way they interact with energy. Keperu is an ancient Egyptian word. It means transformation, becoming, rebirth. It's connected to an ancient Egyptian deity, Khepra, who was the deity who would roll forth the sun every morning as the sun was reborn. It's drawn from an old papyrus that dates to the 3rd century AD, but actually it's probably copied from texts that are older. And that starts, it's a creation story. It starts with Kheperi, Kheper, Kheperu, Kheperkui, Kheper, Khepra, Kheperu, Septepi. It is the declaration of the deity as he creates himself. And for us, the significance of that is as we are empowered by ourselves, our self, we transform ourselves, we become as spiritually evolving beings.
Sometimes it takes a motherfucking bad guy to do the right thing in life. You know, that's what it takes in life sometimes. And when you fucking with Ice Pick, you fucking with a bad guy. But he does the right things for the right reasons, for the right people. You know, it's all or nothing with Ice Pick. It's a little bit, it's not enough for me. I need to eat big, I need to be big. We're in the lie. It's all around us. We're in the fucking lie. See, y'all giving me energy now. Y'all getting me ready right now. Like, I'm ready right now. See, now I'm ready to go get the women now. I'm ready to go get the dollar. I'm ready to go get everything right now. Because that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a choice. It's supposed to be something beautiful, something you get up to and you aspire to do, something that's in you. You don't just go to the club and put the teeth on and put the nice shirt and be a vampire and look scary. Either you're a vampire by nature or you're not a vampire, no matter what. Because you can pay for a lot of things in life, but that doesn't make you that, you know? Like you can buy a Harley motorcycle, you can get the tattoos. That doesn't mean you're a biker. That means you have a Harley motorcycle and you have tattoos. It doesn't mean that you're not a biker, you know, because if you're not living the lifestyle, you're not it. And I've always been Ice Pick, and Ice Pick is like that. This is just an extension. Maybe next time you see me, I might not have the teeth. Or maybe next time you see me, I might have bigger teeth, or I might have smaller teeth. I might be in something different. But you know what? No matter what, you will see Ice Pick. You will see Ice Pick. That won't change. You'll be like, that's Ice Pick. Wow, Ice Pick is wearing a suit today, but that's Ice Pick. Look at him. Look what he's doing. Look at that. You'll be like, that motherfucker, how is he doing that? And you'll see there'll be no change in my foundation. I'll still be me. You know, just because somebody will be clean cut, no teeth, that doesn't mean they're not a vampire. Because like I told you before, there's hunters in life, there's predators, there's scavengers, there's babies. You know, there's people that are it's a lot of different categories for people. But when you talk about it, like how are they gonna try to get at your money, how are they gonna try to get at your energy, how are they gonna try to get at your life, it's a lot of different things that you will see. It's a lot of different creatures, a lot of different animals that you're gonna see. You know, my whole life, I've been searching for a way to be free. And everybody says free, 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 but those people are trapped. Those people are still part of it. You know, you can't smell it, taste it, see it. You just are a part of it. You know, no matter what direction your life takes you in, you're always a part of it. The junkie on the corner, he's a part of it. You know, whoever has a lot of money, they're just, you know, in the pyramid, they're just in the top part of it. They're looking down, but there's always room for people. You know, it's when you get out the pyramid, and that's when you travel in a circle, that you travel, you know, you travel even. You no longer are part of it. And, you know, it's a lot of ways that, you know, for us to get into it, it's gonna take a lot of researching. It's gonna take a lot of building, a lot of just, you know, because it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to be saved. You know, a famous man said, I'm not here to save everybody. I'm gonna let the dead bury the dead. And that's what I do. I let the dead bury the dead. I let the blind lead the blind. Because the blind are not gonna follow me. The blind are gonna follow their own kind. You know, the blind are gonna follow the blind. The deaf are gonna follow the deaf. I'm here showing the path. And some people are on it, some people are not. Some people want to be on it, some people choose it, some people don't. But I'm not going to tell somebody to do it, they're going to choose it. And if they choose it, I've already chosen it. Ethnic, I'm mixed. I'm like Puerto Rican, black, and Paraguayan. So, you know, I grew up mixed. I didn't know like what I was for a lot of years because I was just on the block. I was just part of the block. I was just another number. You know, like I didn't have no distinction. I was just, everybody was poor and I was poor also. So we were all the same, we were all equal. You know, there was no black, no Spanish, we were just the same. And then when I got a little older, it started to change and things started to change, people started to change. And it's like in life, no matter where you are in life, you're part of the system. Even if you're a bum on the street, you're still accounted for. No matter what you do in life, they still have you accounted for. Until you break that, you're always gonna be part of it. like everybody wants to feel disenfranchised, everybody wants to feel like they're not part of it, but no matter what, you're still accounted for. It's when you choose to buy your freedom is when you can get out the system. And until you buy your freedom, you're always gonna be a part of it, no matter what direction you're in, no matter how you're living, no matter, you know, everybody that's in jail is part of the system. Everybody that's about to go to jail is part of the system. Everybody that gets out of jail is part of the system. Everybody in the offices is part of the system. Everybody that does anything that includes and involves the system is part of it. So there's no thinking like I'm not part of it. You know, it's just a way to be free from it, and it's a way to be in it and not know it. You know, ignorance is bliss. People like to be in it, people enjoy it, people like coming home and going to work, coming home, going to work for 40 years, 50 years. And what did they do with their lives? They woke up, went to work, went home. They got told when to eat, they got told what to work at, they got told how to work, they got told when to go home, they got told when to wake up. They never chose nothing. They got told their whole life. And they lived like that for 50 years, and that's it. And then they got old and whatever. That's not life. That's just caught in the pattern. That's just part of the system. That's not living. Because the prison that we're in, we're not seeing it. It's all around us. It's everything. And it's just, it's an inner cell. It's a, you know, it's a mind cell. It's a jail for thought. You know, when thought should always be free. You know, in this country, speech is free. It's only censored. You know, it's free, but it's censored. It's like everything is free to a level. You can do anything you want except all of these things. You know, okay, you could do that, but this is how you have to do it. So it's just part of being another machine. It's part of working it and helping them grow and keeping it the way it is. You know, but we're gonna break out of it. I tell you, you guys are gonna win. You know, a lot of people call me a lot of things in life, but I don't listen to a lot of people. I listen to results. And when you guys start winning, nothing is gonna stop you. You know, whoever's gonna see this is gonna say, wow, he knew what the fuck he was talking about. That dude right there, I don't know what he does, I don't know what he knows, but he knew what he was talking about. It's essential that you always learn from everything. You know, you learn from your environment. You know, and me, I was always the aggressor. I was always very aggressive in pursuit of what I wanted in life. And, you know, I'm here now, and, you know, as you can see, like, I'm very different than you guys are, but when I speak to you, I'll tell you that truth. I don't have no reason to lie in life. So I'm gonna come with the truth. I'm gonna bring the truth to the front, because I could be stopped, but the truth is still gonna be there. There in life, everybody has to survive. And just like in nature, there's predators, there's animals that are a little bit more aggressive than the other ones, but they're all the same animal. Then there's animals that hunt. You know, like a predator hunts its prey. Like the eagle, it doesn't hunt flies. The eagle wants big game. It wants what it wants, and it's gonna get what it wants. Now, you look at a vulture is gonna wait until an animal is sick or already dead or dying, or until an animal already ate, and then it's gonna come in and eat. And there's a lot of those around us. And then there's those that are just babies. They're babies here. So they walk around life like little babies, not knowing what really is happening, but if they see the opportunity to eat, they're gonna eat. And you know, whether they're gonna eat you or they're gonna eat me, that's our decision, that's our choice in life. You know, like, you allow the babies to get next to you. You allow the vultures to get next to you. The predators, they're gonna get you. But the other ones, you allow it. Like, maybe you're cool with somebody, they're your friend, and they're there just to eat. They're not gonna go all out because it's not in their mind capacity to go all out. What is in their mind capacity is just to be a scavenger, just to scavenge. You know, the hunters are gonna get what they want in life. They're gonna get what it is that they want. And the thing is that the predators and the hunters, they're in life, they live the lie. They go after things because they know how to do it, but they don't know why they do it. But they get those things that they want, not really knowing why they want it. But since they could do it, they take advantage of that. You know, like, people that are gonna watch this are gonna get a lot from it. Some people are not gonna like it because it goes against what they believe in. Some people are gonna be like, wow, that's interesting, but it's confusing. And some people are gonna be like, that's what it's about.